So the one thing the best players in the world do, when the ball's on the ground, they set up and they make a nice, repeatable swing that creates that lovely ball and then ground contact. And we can see on TrackMan there, my club's travelled down 3.6 degrees. The low point's been 2.8 inches ahead. I swung at 85 mile an hour, launched the ball at 17 degrees, and that's given me 165 yards carry. Now, I sat and watched last night Scottie Scheffler win the Players' Championship. First guy ever to do back-to-back Players' Championships. And his ball striking numbers in the last 18 months are incredible. But what I thought was important is help you understand how Scottie does that. And it's not really got too much to do with the fancy footwork, but how he moves in his downswing, potentially better than any other tour player, and hence why he's so good. But all the tour players do it in a much different way than most of you guys watching. So I'm going to put a 3D swing of Scottie's movement up, and I'm going to show the relationship between his pelvis and his upper body and how it moves in the downswing, and how we're going to help you do it better to hit the best shots of your life. So when we look at Scottie, we can see there that the pelvis and the hips are fairly in line at address, and they don't alter too much during the backswing. But as we come into the downswing, we start to see the pelvis move much further ahead than the chest, and really helps move his pressure into his lead leg, get that low point ahead, and really get that ball strike into a whole level that no one other than Tiger Woods has done. So we can see there was a big difference, wasn't there, on the way down as to where he was getting his hips to compared to where they were at the start. Much more ahead of the golf ball. Now, just to help you understand what maybe more average players do, I'm going to put a 3D model of one of my students. I'm not going to name him. I might have dropped him in it already there. But I'm not going to name him, but this was the start of his session. Towards the end, we were much better, but I want you to see the difference in the movement. And this was a student who really struggled to get that ball and then ground contact. So we can see at address, not massively different to Scottie, and in the backswing, maybe not the perfect way I want him to move his body. But we can see as we come down into impact, and at impact, the pelvis and the hips very much in line. And he's definitely somebody who struggles getting pressure into his lead foot and does find it difficult to get that low point consistently ahead of the golf ball. So you can see the 3D image there is quite a powerful thing, and the fact that you can draw those lines on, and I do like 3D compared to just video, because 2D, it depends massively where the camera is, where the 3D can move around. Now, the app that was actually on is something called Sportsbox Ai. So I'm going to put the link in my description before. If you want to go and have a look at it, it's a very cool app, something I use in my coaching, and something I'm going to start using in my online coaching, because there's a lot of guys around the world looking to do some work with me. And like I said, I don't love just the videoing, but it's going to give me a much better insight into the golf swing looking at that 3D model. So let's take what Scottie does though. So in the backswing, he moves well, but in that downswing, we see those hips move much more towards the target. And once you start getting the mass of your body ahead of the golf ball, you can see there it's much easier to start touching the ground further ahead of the ball than you would normally do. So the way we're going to do it for you, we're going to set you up, and we're actually going to feel like you just get your pelvis a little bit more towards the target at address, creating a little bit more pressure in that lead foot. So then as we swing, we're not going to do anything different on the way back, but to start the downswing, before the hands are quite reaching the top, you're going to feel that you shift the pressure down and towards the target. So really going to feel like you get very heavy into that left side, and then as you swing down, the left leg will start to straighten, puts the brakes on, and fires the energy through the body. So we're going to do a couple of those practice swings and try and feel that we get very heavy into that left side, and let the pelvis, the hips, move towards the target much more. You see there, massively different where I start touching the ground, a lot further forward for me than normal. That feels very exaggerated, and I do like that feeling. I mean, just to give you an example, if I were to hit my normal shot, which I did at the start, we could see my low point was 2.8 inches ahead, club traveling down 3.6 degrees with 7-iron, which is okay, but I always feel I leave a little bit of yardage behind because I'm not able to compress the ball quite as well as I would normally do. And yet I would say I'm probably a lot better than most golfers at doing that. But I love the exaggerated feel. So let's now hit a couple of shots, try to get that feel that that pelvis is going to move down and towards the target, and then get that leg to straighten. That felt much more exaggerated than normal. So we can see club head speed was about the same. To be fair there, the low point wasn't any further forward. Ball definitely launched a little bit lower, and the carry was about the same, but a smidge longer. But that felt like I shifted much more aggressively into that side. Clearly though, not enough. And that's what's hard, isn't it, with golf? And that's part of the reason why I like golfers when they practice, to be able to get as good feedback as they can. For example, it's easy for me with TrackMan to measure my low point and then work on what I need. But things like Sportsbox Ai is really, really good for a golfer to be able to monitor what they're doing when they're away from their coach. So we're going to set up again. Once I get up here, I'm going to feel like I go much more towards the target on this one. Again, felt more exaggerated than normal. We see a little bit more there. Club head speed the same. Low point now 3.5 inches ahead. Clubs travel down 4.4. Launch angle down at 15.6. And that carry just creeping up another yard or so to 167. And I know for me there, it's not always just low point further ahead, but it definitely would feel like my divot was a lot deeper. And again, for me, being negative, and I'm nitpicky with my game, I feel sometimes I just pick the ball a little bit. I don't get deep enough into the ground, but I love that feeling that once I'm here, really get the pelvis moving towards the target. I can feel how much more aggressively I get into that lead foot. And I feel when I do that, that I can be super aggressive. That was turned a little bit more than I would have liked, but club head speed's very consistent. Ball speed's moving a little bit further forward. You see the strike was a little bit out the toe. Club's traveling down a bit more, but we're starting to see some real consistency. And I would say most golfers would say that they're inconsistent. I would probably disagree and say they're very consistent, just not the kind of consistency they're looking for. But if you can get up there and start moving that pelvis a little bit more like the best players in the world, and ultimately Scottie, at the moment, ball striking with every club in the bag. Putter, which may be a different conversation. He's definitely getting there, but his tee to green stuff and his approach into the greens is unbelievable. And we can really, from tech now, monitor what the best players in the world are doing, which helps them to create that powerful, consistent strike. And if you can stand there and work on that, it's definitely going to improve your ball striking. And you're definitely going to start hitting not only the best shots of your life, but more often than ever before.